Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Pain don't hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He's your host, Ben Mason.
And he's your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking 1995's Mallrats. As always, we assume if you're listening to this episode, you have already seen the film. All right, man. It's been a while. This one's been in the pipeline for how long now? Since we started this show?
I guess.
It's in the intro.
Yeah, but I'm going to be honest. When I made the intro for us, I didn't actually think ahead to, hey, are we going to review the movies in the intro?
You asked me which movies to include. I remember this vividly. This one's on me.
Oh, okay. You mean I didn't pick the movies?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, like you would have picked Roadhouse.
I might have. You had me watch it. I enjoyed it. It was good times.
It was good times.
And I mean, it's a classic line, pain don't hurt.
Pain don't hurt.
It's by definition it does, but okay.
It's a stupid line.
All right, Ben, what's your history with Mallrats?
Man, I couldn't tell you the first time I saw this movie, and it's because I've seen it so many times. And like most of them were like almost back to back. It was a really big part of my upbringing. The movie came out in 95. I probably didn't see it until I want to say 97, 98, but fell in love with it immediately. I think it definitely was the first Kevin Smith movie I had ever seen. It made a massive impact. It plays out a bit differently in 2025. I mean, it's 30 years later, some things don't translate well, but it's still enjoyable. What about you? What's your history with this movie?
So I've told this story before. When it comes to Kevin Smith movies, my older sister and my brother-in-law got me the Clerks anniversary special edition one year for Christmas. That was my first ever Kevin Smith movie. And I loved it so much that I went and started trying to grab all the other ones that I had never seen, which at the time, there weren't that many out, but I picked up Chasing Amy. I picked up Mallrats and things like that. So that's kind of when I watched it, was when I was watching all of those movies. And it was one of the top ones for me out of those picks for sure.
Mm-hmm. The View Askewniverse is a podcast unto itself about how all of Smith's movies are linked together in some way or another. A few things link this movie to Clerks. I don't know if you caught any of those.
You know what? I probably did at the time, but not in any sort of deep analytical way at this point. So you probably tell me. It might be one of those, oh yeah, kind of moments.
The two big ones for me is the movie starts off with a voiceover with Brody telling a story about his cousin Walter, which we got in Clerks when Randall was telling a story about his cousin Walter, leading us to believe that Brody and Randall are somehow related.
That's awesome.
As well as Brian O'Halloran in Mallrats plays a character named Gil Hicks, and he played Dante Hicks in Clerks.
Now, the obvious one is Jay and Silent Bob. Okay? That's the very obvious one, so don't even point that out. But
exactly.
Do you think that at the time that was intentional, that he was trying to make a combined universe? Or was it just like, hey, we got the same actor, let's just kind of, tongue-in-cheek, give him the same last name?
I don't know. I'm sure he's addressed it before. Nothing that I've seen or read, but it's Kevin Smith. I think it's safe to assume that this was planned. No? You don't think so?
I think that kind of cross-universe comes along a little bit later. I think at first it's just kind of like, hey, look at this, it's kind of kitschy. And then after a while, you're like, oh, wow, I might as well just keep running with this.
Yeah, but Scott Mosier, who is a producer for Kevin Smith a lot of the time, plays a character named Willem in Clerks. And then there's the Willem character in Mallrats, but this time Scott Mosier plays Rodney, the assistant. So is Willem the same character from both movies? Why would he pick such a distinct name? Because I've only encountered one Willem in my life.
Yeah, but how many times does Dick Miller play a character with the same name and has nothing to do with it?
I think that was planned, though. 100% planned.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it was planned for like a shared universe. It was just like, hey, we're going to do this kind of neat Easter egg.
Fair enough. You can go with that.
I don't think they accidentally gave him the same last name of Hicks. I think it was more like, hey, let's just kind of make this kind of funny joke more so than, hey, let's make this combined universe.
Oh, yeah, same actor playing family members.
Yeah.
But I'm going to run through a list of Kevin Smith movies, and you have to tell me how many of these you've seen.
Okay.
All right. Starting off with Clerks.
Yep.
Mallrats.
Yep.
Chasing Amy.
Yep.
Dogma.
Yep.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yep.
Jersey Girl.
Yep.
Clerks 2.
Yep.
Zach and Miri Make a Porno.
Yep.
Cop Out.
Nope.
Red State.
Have I seen Red State?
It's kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church meets Waco. It is not a comedy.
Did we review it?
We might have. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with undisclosed on that one.
All right. Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie.
Yep.
Tusk.
Yep.
Yoga Hosers.
No.
Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yep.
Kilroy Was Here.
Never heard of that one.
Clerks 3.
Yep.
The 4:30 movie.
No.
Okay, so that's what, like 12?
Probably a lot more than if we were to do this activity for anything else.
Yeah, I've never seen Kilroy Was Here. I only found out about the 4:30 movie an hour ago, and it sounds wonderful, a little bit more wholesome. But basically how the joy of going to the cinema matches up with like the romantic life of or romantic awakening of teenagers and just relationships in general.
Oh, okay.
But, let's see.
Notice you didn't ask me Jersey Girl in that.
Yeah, I did. You said yes.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a stellar memory.
I've never seen it. I've only seen, let's see, Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2, Zack and Miri, Cop Out, Red State, Tusk, Yoga Hosers, Clerks 3. So that's what, 12?
I wasn't counting. I didn't know I was supposed to count.
Yeah, something like that. And that's fine. Don't worry about it. But I hate to say it. I feel like things progressively got worse after Dogma. And then you got a wake-up call with Clerks 3.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Clerks 3, but it's a great movie.
I remember talking to you after like building it up, and after you were done watching it, it was an emotional time.
Yeah, I did look it up, and we did review Red State. So yes, I've seen that one. And I mean, like Kevin Smith movies were something I was intentionally trying to sort out. I didn't watch Yoga Hosers just because after I watched Tusk, I didn't want to. I mean, yeah. Jersey Girl didn't dissuade me from his movies, but Tusk did.
Yeah. The podcast where they came up with the idea of making the movie based off of a true story of Tusk was great. The movie, not so much. And Yoga Hosers, I did not enjoy at all. So I just kind of stopped after that until Clerks 3.
Sounds good.
So let's just dive into this one, I guess.
Oh, no, sir. You
we're
reminded me last episode that there was something that I completely forgot.
Oh, it's been so long. How am I going to remember all of it?
I know. This will probably be your worst performance for this ever, and I'm all for it.
All right. I'm just going to bring up a cast listing and then see if I can figure out if we've covered them before.
Well, that's not very fair, but okay. So I'll tell you it's 3.
Well, I know for a fact Joey Lauren Adams.
Yep.
Yeah. Biodome, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. I think
it was great.
I think I've touched on this before. I had such a big crush on her. And the only movie that we reviewed that she was in was Biodome. That's a shame.
I love that movie, though. It's great.
I'm not getting into that movie again.
Other than that, I don't really know.
Okay, that's the weakest attempt you could have possibly made.
Well, I can't think of anything with Shannen Doherty.
Because we didn't do anything with Shannen Doherty.
Did we do a Jason Lee movie?
No, surprisingly.
Yeah. And Claire Forlani, no. We must have done Affleck at some... Oh, yeah, Glory Days.
And?
And Glory Days.
Yeah, well, there's 1.5 more.
Played a bit role, I'm guessing?
That's the half, obviously. And it was more a cameo than a bit role.
Ooh. I should. Is it like one of my favorite movies? I'm just forgetting it.
No. It's one where I'm like, you'll never get this.
Oh God.
Affleck.
I don't know.
So he was the basketball player that handed the ball.
Oh, in Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
The Vampire Slayer.
Shit.
But surprisingly, there's a movie that we covered that is referenced in another Kevin Smith movie.
In another Kevin Smith movie?
Mm-hmm.
Phantoms.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe I got that one.
I mean, after a number of hints, I guess.
Yeah. And there's a third one, eh?
Really tough. I don't know if this is even half because I don't know what his roles were in the other movies.
Was it Rooker?
No.
I don't know. Who was the third?
Sven Ole Thorsen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was in, I want to say, Conan.
We didn't do Conan.
That's
He
fine.
was in Conan, but we didn't do it.
What do you know what the other movies were?
Yes, I wrote it down. I do the
What
research.
are they?
All right, so you're done?
Yeah.
I like that you said movies because it was more than one. The Running Man.
Yep.
And Last Action Hero.
I don't remember him in that one.
I only do half the research. I don't look at their roles in the other movies. But there you go. We had the game. It is mercifully over, and we can get into the movie now.
Okay. Good Lord. So yeah, as I said before, you have a voiceover of Brody telling a Cousin Walter story while we see different shops at the mall, including Burning Flesh Tanning Salon, Fashionable Mail, and Rug Muncher's Carpet Outlet. Very Kevin Smith.
Yeah. And very 1990s. You ain't not getting away with that now.
No, God, no. You're not getting away with a Cousin Walter story now.
No.
And
I'm
like
pretty
I said,
pretty sure it's safe to say 2/3 of this movie you ain't getting away with now.
we're getting back to that. We're getting back to the R-rated film, which I'm totally okay with. I should say
this movie doesn't even hesitate to use the R word, so I don't know.
Yeah, you can get away with that now.
Can you?
No, but yeah.
Okay.
I just want to let everyone listening know that we are doing the theatrical cut of the movie, not the extended cut, which seems to be the most prevalent of the two right now. A very different runtime. It's like 95 minutes versus 122 minutes. No, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, it's over 2 hours, right?
Yeah, no, that's 122 minutes.
Yeah, 122 minutes. That's crazy. So much was cut out of this movie.
That's a huge difference.
And a lot of the lines and jokes in the theatrical cut don't actually land because they're referencing things that have already been cut out of the movie. However, we'll continue. We get our intro to T.S. Quint and Brandy. We get the Julie James story, animosity between T.S. and Brandy's father, Svenning, cancellation of their trip they had planned, and Brandy volunteering for her father's dating show, leading to their breakup. A lot to unpack in a very short amount of time. Is there anything you want to focus on there?
Yeah. He's supposed to be our protagonist, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
He sucks.
I'm not saying that she shouldn't have been a little bit more, let's say, forward with the communication, I guess. But yeah, she's helping the dad out by taking a spot on the show for the girl who died. Mm-hmm. And I get it. He had big plans, but it's like, you need to accept that this is a very large situation that really had nothing to do with any of these other things. Like you say, oh, your dad is trying to keep us apart. It's like, the dad didn't kill the girl to get her on the show, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's referenced that T.S. told Julie that the camera adds 10 pounds and she has a massive problem with like weight issues. So she ended up dying during her 700th lap in the pool. So yeah,
700 is ridiculous, but yeah.
Yeah. But there's also part of the extended cut that starts off with T.S. ruining a do at the governor's house where Brandy's father, Svenning, is trying to fund the game show that he's putting on at the mall. So he's ruined the game show and is now potentially responsible for a woman's death.
See, now that's important context for why the dad hates him so much.
Which makes no sense in the theatrical cut, other than he doesn't like the fact that his daughter is dating T.S. Quint.
Well, because in the theatrical cut, yeah, he's a little bit of a jerk in this situation. You can kind of pass it off as, yeah, he was planning to propose and that's a big hit or whatever, but he's not that bad of a guy. So you're like, why would the dad hate him so much? And it's like, okay, well, there's a whole bunch of context cut out that tells us why the dad hates him so much.
I need to ask, what is the duration of time that passes in this movie, in your opinion?
I think it all takes place in the same day.
It definitely does. I think it all takes place in the morning and early afternoon.
Well, yeah, I don't think it hits nighttime.
Because after they break up, he immediately goes to Brody's house. And we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but I want to say that he says that they were supposed to leave for Florida this morning, leading me to believe that it was earlier than this conversation's happening. But they get to the mall before noon, and it looks pretty late in the morning when he shows up at Brandy's house. And we find out that Brody lives next door to Brandy.
Yeah.
So he went from one house to the next.
Because the dad calls him, oh, my neighbor or whatever.
Exactly. A few things I've picked up on this for the very first time over the last rewatch.
Okay.
But yeah, so your thoughts on TS, we know. What are your thoughts on Brandy?
I mean, at this point in the movie, if I'm putting myself into that mentality, nothing. You know that she's helping her dad out, especially if you're just watching the theatrical cut with this game show. That's all we know about her. And yeah, she's visibly distraught. I don't know if they go into it in the extended version because I didn't watch it, but like, was she friends with the other girl? I don't know. Does it really matter? Probably not in the context of this. But like at this point, we just know that she's trying to help her dad out.
Exactly. The character, fine. The performance, very poor. Yes. And I say this because sometimes she's American and sometimes she is British.
I noticed the voice is not consistent in this when it comes to accent.
At all. And it's because she is British. Claire Forlani is British. But her pronunciation is all over the place throughout this entire film. And that's one of the first things I noticed the very first time I saw this movie. Like, why can't you say the same word twice the exact same way?
Words are hard, dude.
I get that. You're right. That should be easier. Next, we get Brody, Bruce, and Renee on Brody's bed in the basement. They are arguing about breakfast, Renee never meeting Brody's mother, and she being upset with her life, also leading to them breaking up. Now, what are your thoughts on Brody and Renee?
It's about time they introduced Brody in this movie. I've been waiting forever.
Spoiler for the awards. But yeah, Brody Bruce, played by Jason Lee, and Renee, played by Shannen Doherty, R.I.P. Two of my favorite characters in the film. I really wish that the focus had been on them. And I think to an extent it does shift to focus on them for like the body, like the middle part of the film, before getting back to TS and Brandy. Unbalanced is a term that we've brought up a lot lately on the show. And I think this is a perfect example of Smith trying to fit way too much in and not actually having a decent focus.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly before we started recording in that there's a lot of quick scenes in this movie with a ton going on. And when you go into it thinking like, hey, yeah, like, 90s comedy, whatever, you don't expect this much density.
Yeah, true Kevin Smith form. You could break down a scene for 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you really wanted to get into it. So it's a tough one to talk about and keep it to a short runtime. But they do a really good job of setting up both. I don't understand how these two ended up together. I can easily see why TS and Brandy were together. But Brody and Renee makes no sense to me. As I said, TS arrives at Brody's house and they share breakup stories. And my note just says fart versus Jaws. I'll let the listener figure that one out. But I never realized until now how prevalent Jaws is in Mallrats. Because you've got Brody, Bruce, and Quint. Your two main characters. Brody being Chief Brody from Jaws. Bruce being the name of the shark, and Quint being another character from Jaws.
Yeah, and in Clerks there was Salsa Shark.
There was Salsa Shark. And TS was going to propose to Brandy at Universal when Jaws pops out of the water.
What a terrible proposal idea.
I know.
He should be happy
when that guy fell in?
What?
Do you remember when that guy fell off the boat into the water during the Jaws ride?
Is this something that happened in real life?
Yeah.
Clearly I do not remember.
It was a bad scene for Universal, but anyway, moving on.
Well, he should be happy that his proposal got canceled. Not that somebody passed away for it, but just that something happened to prevent it, because really, dude, the Jaws ride, you deserve a no.
It happens anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think about TS and Brody being best friends?
I like it.
Me too. It's weird though, right?
Well, they complement each other, right? Brody is clearly living in his own world, and TS is overly cautious and neurotic for the both of them. So, they kind of help. One lightens one up, and the other one kind of grounds the other one.
Does he though? Or is he just so cynical? And I really don't see TS having any other friends. Same with Brody. It's kind of like they had no other option but to be friends.
Yeah, cool. Okay. I tried to put a nice spin on it, but whatever.
No. This is a very negative film. It's the most negative comedy ever.
Yeah, it doesn't appear that way on the surface, but when you start getting into it, it's like there's a lot of dark stuff in this, and it's a lot of negativity.
Oh, mm-hmm. They decide to go to the mall, and we get our intro to Shannen, played by Ben Affleck, who's the manager for Fashionable Mail. One of my favorite scenes is Brody taking that staging to the face.
I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith movies, and you don't often get slapstick. The humor is obviously very writing based,
mm-hmm.
But when you get a little bit, it's always pretty good.
Well, even when it's TS shitting on himself about his current situation, and Brody turns around to face him while walking backwards and says, "You face forward or you face the possibility of shock and damage," and then turns around and takes that staging right to the face. And it's just great writing.
It's pretty movie 101, though. You never say, well, at least it can't get any worse, because that's the first thing that's going to happen immediately after. But it's so cliche for a reason. It works.
It really does. That is my first really big laugh of the movie. And it's so simple, but so well done. Even him reacting to, where the hell did that come from? What's going on here?
He's so possessive of the mall.
Oh, yeah.
How's this going on in my mall without me knowing? Because things happen in the mall. You don't own it.
Oh, he believes he does. He fully does. TS saying it looks like a stage is being erected. First of all, no 20-something I've ever met speaks that way. But it also fits his character very well.
What about all your days on the set of Dawson's Creek? It was clearly not high school vocabulary.
They're in university. Oh, you're right. Yeah. But going back to your statement about Brody, when TS says maybe it's for the Easter Bunny setup or whatever, he's like, no, the Easter Bunny's down whatever way. It's been set up since 2 days after Christmas. He is there all the time. He knows what happens when it happens.
You can almost say he was a mall rat.
And Shannen calls him a mall rat later in the movie. I think it's the only time you hear that term in the film. But even when he
Shannen says it a couple of times, but yeah.
Oh, he does?
Yep.
All right, it was at the taping of the show where it really, it stood out to me. But yeah, Brody telling Renee when they meet up later on that they have to come up with visitation rights. She's like, for what? He's like, the mall. I get weekends and even days, you get odd days. He is 100% a mall rat.
Yeah.
Do you remember who we meet next?
Is it Willem?
It is Willem.
Nice.
And what's he doing? I'm going to let you take this one.
He is... he's bunkering down for a full day of trying to see the image in a magic eye. He even references how he's been trying to do it all week. But this time, he's even brought a bag lunch, and he is not leaving until he sees the image. Which, of course, the running gag throughout the entire movie is that anybody and everybody that goes near it sees it instantly, except for him. Although I
even
know
just walking by.
I know his pain because I've never been able to see a Magic Eye image.
Oh, really?
Uh-uh.
Oh, they're so easy.
Maybe for you.
Sounds like you need to pack a bag lunch and bring a soda and try it.
No. It'll just give me a headache.
Yeah, it does that for a lot of people, actually.
Yeah.
This is why they stopped making them. But we learned that the stage is for Brandy's father's dating show. And of course, the guys just decided they're going to sabotage the show. And this is our intro to Jay and Silent Bob.
I gotta say, shouldn't TS know that the show's being filmed in the mall? Even prior to Brandy having to take over the role, do they never talk? Would she have never mentioned, yeah, my dad's filming in the mall this other day? Like,
You would think so, but at the same time, we already covered how Brody was completely caught off guard and had no idea what was going on.
well, he didn't know that she had passed away.
No, but Brody always knows what's happening in the mall all the time.
Sorry. Yes, Brody. My apologies.
Do you like Jay and Silent Bob more in Mallrats or Clerks?
I like them more in Clerks, but it's because this is almost like a caricature version of them. It's a lot more zany. It's a lot more just ridiculous. So they're both good, but I don't know. I kind of prefer when they're just a little bit more toned down.
Yeah, they're
especially Silent Bob.
Yeah, this is amped up, more accessible for the masses version of what we saw in Clerks. And from here on in the movies, they just get zanier and zanier, I think. Well, no. Chasing Amy, they're not really around nearly as much. But after that, they're just comedy heroes for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So Jay says that Bob is trying to do the Jedi mind trick when it's just using the Force. I always found that weird, especially for a nerd film.
Yeah, you would think Kevin Smith would know.
Yeah. I did like that they had planned on sabotaging the set anyway.
Oh, why is that?
There's nothing else to do.
Yeah. What else are we going to do? Good enough.
But yeah, we get the intro to security guard LaFours, who you brought up before, Sven Ole Thorsen, and another Clerks reference, if you caught that.
You know I didn't.
How many arrests does he have?
I don't know.
37.
Oh. Oh, so all of those were in public?
You know, I have to say, some of the best laughs in this movie are Willem. Because we cut back to the Magic Eye and a class of young children approach and immediately see the image. And I think it's a young girl who says, "Wow, it's a schooner."
Yeah.
And do you remember his line?
I don't remember the exact line, but he pretty much
like
mocks her for getting it wrong.
He laughs maniacally in her face and says, "You dumb bastard. It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat."
And then her classmate defends her. A schooner is a sailboat.
And calls him stupid head. And he just freaks out and screams, "You know what? There is no Easter Bunny. Over there, that's just a guy in a suit." And just shatters all of these children's childhoods.
Good on him.
Ethan Suplee, man.
I love that guy.
What a hero. Amazing in everything he's in, whether it's comedy or drama. He's just so good. I think what's up next, and correct me if I'm wrong, probably the most Kevin Smith conversation ever happens in this scene, where Brody and TS discuss whether or not Lois Lane could have Superman's baby.
I mean, this is what Brody does all day long.
Yeah. It's probably best that we don't get into it.
Yeah. No, it's just, it's a ridiculous conversation, and it is obviously part of Brody's obsessive nature towards comic book characters and the disconnect from reality for him.
And their anatomy.
Yeah, a lot of their anatomy, yep.
Yeah. Let's just say it ends with the talk of kryptonite condoms.
Mm-hmm.
And a debate over whether or not the cookie stand is part of the food court.
I mean, it's not part of the food court. That
it's
shouldn't even take as much of an elaborate explanation as Brody provides. There's a clearly marked off area that's the food court. If it's not there, it's not part of the food.
Yeah, if an eatery is not within the designated area, it is not part of the food court.
Okay, you don't have to get into the exact quotes.
I'm not.
Oh, okay. It's for mid-mall snacking.
Okay, that's a quote.
Yeah.
Brody spots Renee and tries to get back with her, and he's very, very condescending the entire time. Brody Bruce is a complete asshole. We have to admit this.
Yeah, he's not a friendly character.
Well, if he says, "I'm sure you were just PMSing or something," you're not going to win this one, man.
Yeah, no. Especially if you we didn't talk about it, but if you go into her explanation of why they're breaking up, and she is saying in a very elaborate way, you're doing nothing with your life, but I cry because I think of all the people that are out there making a difference and things like that. It's not PMSing, dude. This has clearly been planned out well in advance.
Yeah, she is actually thinking about where she is in life versus where she wants to be, and she's willing to take the necessary steps to get there. Yeah, she is completely in the right.
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob's first attempt at taking down the stage. Thoughts?
Well, why would you do it so early?
It's true.
If you were successful, which obviously we know they're not going to be, otherwise the plot would be hampered quite a bit. But, you do it early enough and there's still an entire crew there. They're just going to fix it.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I got hung up on the blueprints.
Go on.
I love the blueprints for their plans, showing how much thought they're actually putting into things and how it almost never works right from the beginning.
Yeah, but they got some fun little cartoons.
True. I love the sock full of quarters.
Yeah. It's the worst attempt, too. He just starts spinning it and running. It's there's no way this is going to work out.
They're definitely not going to see this giant man swinging a sock full of quarters, charging the stage. But also the fact that he was threatened to backhand a kid, and the kid is the reason why the plan doesn't work immediately.
Yeah, well, that's karma for you. You threaten to backhand the kid, and that kid knew what he was doing. He pushed that toy out there intentionally.
And Bob stepping on the truck and flying headfirst into the change room with Joey Lauren Adams in it. Both times this happens, I can't help but laugh out loud.
About time, movie. I've been waiting for her since the beginning.
I forget. She was in this movie because she was dating Smith at the time, right?
No idea, dude.
I think that was it. I think that's why she was cast in Chasing Amy.
I mean, she is one of the better actors in the movie. She just deserves to be there based on merit.
Is she, though?
Yeah. Especially when you get into the conversations she has with Brandy about when she used to date TS. Her delivery, she is fantastic. I don't care.
It is.
Yeah. You can say it's biased, and it probably is, but still, shut up.
No. It comes across as very genuine.
Yeah.
I just don't think she's the best actor in the film.
No, I said she's one of the best.
Oh, as long as you're encompassing the rest of the cast, then yes. If they're all one of the best, then yes, for sure.
No.
Kid on the escalator, one of the best recurring jokes in the entire film.
It should recur more often, though.
It should. It should have had a longer setup.
There's no breathing room between it, right? That's the issue with the recurring part of this joke, is that we see him on the escalator talking about the kid, and it's only a couple scenes later that they're on the bench and he talks about it. And then by the end of the scene, he talks about it again, but then we don't go back to it. That should have been spaced out a bit more.
It also makes me wonder a bit more about Brody's character, because it seems to be in the entire film, there's only 3 things he really cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Comic books, Renee, and this kid on the escalator.
Yeah, he doesn't care about that kid on the escalator, dude.
It snaps him out of his conversation immediately, and he focuses on it.
But if their kid has an accident, they're going to have to shut them all down.
Oh, good point. Would they, though?
Of course. If a kid actually got into an escalator accident that is as bloody as Brody describes, that mall is getting closed down.
Well, he
Not
just
permanently, but at least for the day.
He said, I hope his pants get caught and a bloodbath ensues. No, it wouldn't be a day. Man, I've been working in a mall where we had a full-on, shootout and, cops chasing guys throughout the mall. And they shut the mall down and locked down for, 2 hours. And yes, people were injured.
2 hours is a lifetime for Brody in the mall.
I guess. Intro to Trish the Dish, a character I've always hated in this movie.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I don't know why she's here other than a plot device for the end of the film, which I think they could have figured out some other way.
It is absolutely a plot device, and honestly, I've got no time for this one, especially when she gets into what she's doing, her age, and the fact that like schools have like funded her to do this at 15 years old. Like, no, I got no time for this.
Documenting sexual encounters. The book is on sex drives of men ages 14 to 30. So many problems there. And videotaping every encounter. Come on.
She's 15. And at the end of the movie, the like security cops, whatever you want to call them, go after Shannen, but it's totally fine that this is being allowed and even like funded by the schools.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not. I don't think it was the schools. It was the publishing company gave her a $20,000 grant.
Okay, that publishing company should be arrested.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
anyway, I got no time for this.
We're rescued by the return to the kid on the escalator.
Well, he's back on the escalator again.
And the plot device here is that Trish slept with Shannen, who hates Brody, which we don't really know why. Do you want to get into why Shannen hates Brody Bruce so much?
He's a Mallrat.
Is that the reason?
He literally has like the one showdown where they talk about it, and he's just like essentially talking about how not just is he a Mallrat, but the fact that Mallrats don't serve any purpose. They're of no use to society. They're just like essentially mooching off of everybody else.
But we know that Shannen just started at the store, so he wouldn't even really know that. And it's also implied that he hates Brody because of Renee.
How does he just start at the store? He's the manager.
Yeah. Well,
and they talk about him like they know that, the manager from the menswear store?
The proprietor, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's referenced at one point that he just started.
Were they maybe talking about he just started his shift for the day?
As the manager? Maybe the shift? I don't know.
Yeah, we're getting too caught up on this. Yeah, it doesn't.
Anyway, no. Brody gets angry at the lineup to get into the comic book store. And we see Brian Johnson and Walt Flanagan, who are two of the three hosts of one of my favorite podcasts, Tell 'em Steve Dave, which is a line in the movie.
Tell 'em Steve Dave.
So good. The fight's broken up when somebody yells about a little boy caught in the escalator.
Why? Hilarious, first of all. But why do they hate Brody? Just because he goes there to buy lots of comics?
Well, Brody's an asshole, and he gets right in their faces.
He is an asshole, but, like, again, he clearly goes there and shops all the time.
Yeah, but that's fine. You can have a regular customer, at your store. That doesn't mean they're not an asshole, and you don't want them to be in your store.
Fair enough, but they get pretty aggressive to removing him very quickly.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. Again, it's a cheesy 20-something comedy. Also, the reveal that Stan Lee's at the store signing comics, and that's why there's the lineup. And even Brody calls out why wouldn't he know this? And that's a question I have too.
Yeah, how? Like, he's clearly a mall rat, and there's one store that he seems to frequent the most, because obviously he's a comic book guy. He's got the huge collection and whatever. Stan Lee doesn't impulsively come and sign comics. That shit would have been advertised well in advance.
Yeah, I've always found that weird. Always. It's like a weird misstep in his character. It doesn't make any sense. But my confusion is alleviated by the next set of blueprints to take down the stage. And just like the last time, it does not go well. And it's Bob swinging from the ceiling to take out a pin that should have the whole stage come down. Misses the pin completely. Ends up smashing his head through another change room with Joey Lauren Adams. And the comedic timing in this is probably the biggest laugh I have in the movie.
Okay.
No, it's hilarious because she's putting a shirt on. For some reason, they actually got her to go topless in this scene. She's putting a shirt on and his head just punches through the wall. And her reaction almost seems genuine and just punches him in the head.
I sure hope they told her what was about to happen.
I don't know. It would be because it looks like a legit scare. So if she did know, great acting.
Well, because she's one of the best in the movie. But it's a good thing that he was wearing that Batman-esque hat for this swing so that he had some protection when he went through the wall.
Oh yeah, and yeah, just the signage that he went through to get into that change room, which we see later, it's a cheap laugh, but it was a good chuckle.
It worked on me.
Yeah. The boys in the food court, finally. Anyway, Jay and Bob running from LaFour's and give up on the stage sabotage because they just can't. And the reveal that Renee is with Shannen. Something we talked about off mic is way too much seems to have occurred in such a short amount of time.
Yes. Even though they get into the whole thing where Shannen likes to pick up girls that are on the rebound and this and that, it's been half a day.
Not even.
Okay. If the fact that I'm being generous and it's half a day should say something.
Especially when they encounter each other later in the movie and Renee tells Brody everything that Shannon's done so far.
Yep.
There's no way you could do all of that. Yeah, sure, but all of that in what's probably like 2 hours?
Yeah, no.
Impossible. TS distracts Shannen so Brody can get Renee alone in the elevator. Argument was amazing. I thought that was also some really good acting. And I don't really remember seeing Jason Lee in anything before this movie. I'm sure he had done some, but we have to keep in mind that Jason Lee was originally just a professional skateboarder who turned to acting.
I'm glad he did.
The argument, phenomenal, and leads to sex in the elevator. But yeah, like what I mentioned before about Shannen and Renee is like, how did Shannen already introduce Renee to his mother?
It was premeditated? I don't know. Like, the timeline of this movie is clearly a problem. Like, I don't know when things happen, and it feels like it should be more than a day, but it very, very much is one day.
Yeah, it's too much. Way too much for one day. I think this is the part you were talking about with Gwen, because it's Brody and TS in the stairwell, and they encounter Gwen.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the fact that she spooks TS and he elbows her in the tit, and then she gives him an axe handle to the balls, and then you have a genuine conversation after that.
It made me laugh though.
Oh, it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah,
just great timing, great reaction,
and it's like it's so simple because there isn't like this giant dialogue or anything. She's just like, you elbowed me in the tit. It's like, yeah, that hurts.
Yeah. Yep. We should probably talk about Michael Rooker in this movie playing Svenning. I think this might have been the first time I saw a movie with him in it, and he made me pay attention to who he is and what he was doing.
He's so good.
He's fantastic. But he's so good in this movie and doesn't really have a lot to work with.
No. Limited screen time, very minimal dialogue. A lot of it nonsensical. Like when he calls TS back to the stage later on just to threaten him again about, I know you slept with my daughter, after already talking to him about how they broke up. It's like, why is this happening? But he kills it in every scene, so you don't care. You're like, fine, give me any reason to have him back on camera.
He's such a comedic character, but he's so intimidating at the exact same time. I don't know how he does it, but he does it so well. Okay, I need to ask you this. Him freaking out at the guy who's putting the set together, and he shows him how to stomp down the carpet.
Mm-hmm. And then his foot goes through.
Just drives his foot through the stage. I was laughing out loud at that, but then I thought about Bruce Dern doing that on the front porch in The Burbs, and I laughed even harder.
I was about to say, did the same person build this set that built the front porch in the suburbs?
Oh my god! I had to go back and actually bring up that scene of Bruce Dern in The Burbs, and it stays funny. It doesn't diminish at all. It's perpetually hilarious.
I'm all for it.
But yeah, Svenning calls out TS over the shit he pulled the previous night, which anybody who didn't know there was an extended cut would be completely confused about. And we will get into the differences between the two versions at the end of this. Brody, TS, and Gwen in the clothing store. Brody actually has a serious moment here, which I think is quite meaningful. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not without. Yeah, point it out.
It's his metaphor for the relationship. It's like when you're laying next to the person, like spooning them almost, and you don't know what to do with your other arm. Like, you put it behind your head, try and squeeze it between you, wrap around them. Like that was his relationship with Renee. He never really knew what to do with that other arm. So I think it's the only time you really get character depth from Brody, and I really, really dug that.
Well, he hides his emotion by being a comedic asshole.
Yes, he does. We really need a Brody movie.
Yeah.
How many times has Brody popped up in other Smith movies?
Just the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back after this, to my knowledge.
Is that? I'm going to look at that up right now because I'm very curious.
Because I know in Chasing Amy he plays Banky, who is a comic book artist, but it's not Brody.
Yeah.
Because then in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back he plays both Brody and Banky in the movie.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Yeah, he has his own comic book store called Brody's Secret Stash. Right. Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, Brody, TS, Gwen, and clothing store. We have Brody's metaphor. And then Shannen drags Brody into the service hallway and drops him hard while telling him that he's going to screw Renee in a very uncomfortable place.
What, like the back of a Volkswagen?
I knew you would do that. I set you up for that. Thank you. Thank you for following through.
Well, thank you for setting me up because I'm glad I got to say it.
Because that is another recurring joke of, I think, only, 2? 3,
yeah.
If you bring up the magic eye.
Yeah, and because Gil says it as well.
Yeah. No, it's... When is that brought up? It's also brought up in a conversation with Trish, I think. Anyway, Brody tells Jay and Silent Bob that the Easter Bunny jumped him, which is absolutely fucking hilarious.
It's only funny after.
Yeah. When they actually try and take out the Easter Bunny. Well, they do take out
They don't
the Easter
try.
Bunny.
They take out the Easter Bunny. And because they just randomly cut to it later where they're approaching the Easter Bunny. And Jay even says, "This is for Brody."
Bob grabs his arms, holds behind it, and Jay just starts wailing on his gut.
Buddy has no idea what's going on. It's hilarious.
Also, just how they walk up to him, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
No, just when the kids come in and just start punching Jay and Bob too. It's like only a few seconds. This one scene, and it's one of my favorite in the movie.
Yeah, and it's good to see that Jay and Silent Bob, in the end, will defend their friends.
This is for Brody. It's so good. It's so fucking good. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Heartfelt conversation between Gwen and Brandy. Probably the most serious and well played out scene, dramatically, in the entire film.
No, it's because of Joey Lauren Adams' delivery here is fantastic.
And
I will. In this movie.
Well, I'll agree with your previous statement that it is definitely all because of Joey Lauren Adams in this scene. She does an amazing job. If only she could do as well as she did in Biodome, this movie would be phenomenal. Intro of the chocolate-covered pretzel.
Yeah. This doesn't need dissection, man.
No. But for anybody listening who hasn't seen the film, Brody tells TS to stink palms venting.
Yeah.
Which we will come back to later. But I love how he already rubs his hand all over his ass and then just has a bag of pretzels in his left hand. And he looks at his right hand, realizes he can't use that to get the pretzels, so he just rams his face into the bag.
Yeah.
It's a good sight gag.
Yeah, but then he gives pretzels after to Svenning. So did he get another bag? Is this the pretzels that he didn't eat? They were in a deep bag?
I think that's why they were melty. They weren't actually melty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Svenning meets with the big wigs from the network, who were actually in the intro in the extended cut. And one of the execs is like, I heard the Easter Bunny was accosted this morning.
Not safe here.
But Svenning arranges a meeting with TS, which you brought up earlier. It's all just a setup to have him removed from the mall. And Brody intercepts with a high five, stink palming Svenning.
And then also giving him pretzels.
Yeah, and he's rubbing these wet pretzels into his hand to the point where Svenning has to lick his fingers to get all of the chocolate off. And he actually goes in for more, which I find hilarious.
Yeah.
Cut to Jay, Bob, and Willem. I love how they're just trying to egg him on and wanting to get him crazy high so he'll see everything, not just a sailboat. Renee alerts the boys about Brody and TS. And I don't know why this reference is here, but Willem makes a 90210 reference.
Yeah, Brenda?
Yeah, and I never watched 90210, but I know that Shannen Doherty played Brenda on that show. But what are we doing here with that one?
Yeah, I don't know. And I maybe it's a weird joke. Okay, maybe he got a little high and he doesn't know her name, but she gets upset about it. Like, were you Brenda in disguise? Like, what?
Doesn't she call him a dick?
Yeah.
It's a joke that I'm sure makes sense and is just lost on me.
Yeah.
My next note just says, the boys rescue the other boys. And yeah, you brought this up and I love it. I love it so much, is that Jay and Bob are always willing to help out TS and Brody no matter what. Like, truly dedicated friends. But I don't know if they're actually friends.
I'm led to believe they are based on how they interact in the movie.
Can you see TS hanging out with Jay and Silent Bob?
Maybe purchases from them?
Maybe. I don't know. It's such a weird foursome. But I love it. It works for me. I just don't think it makes sense.
Fair enough.
So yeah, the boys flee the mall and go directly to the dirt mall. And we have these. We all have these in our towns.
See, this is how much of a mall rat Brody is. He gets kicked out of the mall. He goes to a pseudo mall.
Yeah. I don't care for really anything that happens at the mall. Ivana, the topless psychic, it's several minutes where the joke is that she has a third nipple.
And that it's candy after, because she later takes it off. Yeah, I got no time for this either.
Yeah. But she does break down exactly what's happening in TS's life.
I guess if he needed like a sage wisdom from somewhere, might as well be here.
Yeah, but she basically tells him everything that a good friend should tell him. But a thing that, like, Brody should tell him, but Brody just doesn't care. He's not that thoughtful.
Well, Brody's incapable, but he can bring him to a place where he'll hear that, even if it's not the direct intention.
Did you find the next shot really strange, where TS punches out the guy in the parking lot?
It seems a little unnecessary and out of character for TS, but okay.
Well, yeah, the guy says, hey, didn't you break up with Brandy Svenning? And he just punches the guy out. It was dubbed, and it was from the extended cut, where TS is being chased by reporters, and it comes up repeatedly throughout the film. And this one guy actually said, hey, didn't I see you on CNN? And TS is so fed up with the fact that everyone thinks he did something that he did not do, he just knocks the guy out.
Yeah, okay, so it would have made more context there. In this case, I don't know why he punches the guy in this version. He just does it.
Yeah, because TS is not an aggressive character at all in this version of the movie, so keeping that in just made no sense. Chance encounter? ? Between Brody and Stan Lee. I do love the talk about relationships and the girl that got away. It's always the one that got away. But here it feels genuine. And I think it's the only time I've seen Stan Lee act in a believable way, other than, hey, it's me, Stan Lee. How did you feel about this scene?
I didn't like it.
Yeah? What about it didn't you like?
Even before you know that TS set it up, which, how did he set it up? Like, I don't know how he had this type of connection or how he pulled this off or whatever.
Same.
It doesn't feel natural to me. It doesn't. It really feels like Stan Lee is just shoehorning in this conversation about couples, but whatever, it is what it is.
Do you also find it strange it takes Brody a while before he realizes he's talking?
Yeah, he should have known who it was instantly. Instantly should have known.
And there's one thing I saw in my last viewing of this movie that I've never noticed before. He stink palm Stan Lee.
Oh.
It's never referenced. I don't think it's supposed to be the joke. But earlier on, Brody says you can't get that smell off your hand for at least 2 days. And he shakes his hand. Anyway, Brody puts a plan in motion. Gets Trish to get her sex tape with Shannen. And gets Bob to get a schematic for the stage. Meanwhile, Svenning is not having a good time.
No, he's gotten sick from the pretzels.
Yeah, it's disgusting. That bag with the bag inside, the way that bag shakes every time it's moved almost makes me get sick. Any thoughts on this at all? It's okay to say no. It's just
no. I mean that it's a plot device. Good way to get him out of the way, and there's really nothing more to say to it. But.
Yeah. Did Jay and Bob improvise their part of the plan? Because I don't remember it being discussed.
The guys do tell them to kind of get rid of the other contestants.
Okay, but they only get rid of 2 of them. Get them too stoned to be on the show.
Well, because they don't follow direction that well. They saw the 2 guys and didn't know that the third one, who was not in the room, they were like, oh, okay, the guys that are here, we got rid of them.
And this leads up to another one of the biggest laughs I've had in this movie. Because we get the third guy, Gil Hicks, we already talked, is Brian O'Halloran, who played Dante in Clerks. But then we get T.S. and Brody to sub in for the 2 guys who are out cold. And the assistant, Roddy, calls security when he recognizes them. And it leads to one of my favorite movie knockouts ever, where Brody just cold cocks him in the face. And Roddy just drops to his knees and then face plants. But as soon as he hits the ground unconscious, Jay lays into him with a kick.
Yeah.
And the timing of it's perfect. The look on his face is amazing. He's overexerting himself in a comedic way. It's brilliant. Like Jason Mewes, I don't know if he realizes how funny he actually can be, especially since he was dealing with such intense drug addiction.
I was going to say, at that time, he probably had no idea.
Yeah. Time for the show. Have you seen Woman of the Hour?
No.
I think it came out like last year or the year before. It's I want to say Anna Kendrick. I think it was her first directorial effort. She was also in it. It's based on a true story about a dating show like this, where it's one woman questioning 3 different suitors behind a wall, and she ends up picking one guy at the end, but that guy is legitimately a serial killer.
All right then.
Yeah. It's worth watching if you have free time.
Okay.
But this is the big act, like third act of the movie, and I always find this to be the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, why don't you like it?
Well, first of all of the discussion and resolution between Brandy and TS is garbage. The only entertaining part of this obvious dating game is Brody and Dante. Not Dante, Gil. Because they have great interactions here. But, especially when it's first of all, it takes Brandy way too long to realize who these guys are. She does eventually, but come on. This is the guy you were supposedly going to get proposed by, so clearly you were together well enough. You don't know his voice. But none of it feels natural. Their reconciliation feels very, very by the numbers and just doesn't have the actual emotion behind it that should be.
Yeah, it's a very basic let's get back together scene that you see in all romantic comedies from the 80s.
Yeah.
I do like Brody's antics, though. He is pretty funny in this.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to throw in another Cousin Walter story, though.
Yeah, not really necessary.
No. But the executives love him.
Well, as they should. Everybody should love him.
Everybody should love him, you're right. And yeah, TS proposes, Brandy accepts, and the police arrive. Why do the police arrive again?
Well, they were going to arrest these 2 for, I guess, hijacking spots on the show or whatever, but in order to subvert that, Brody has them play child pornography.
Yes. But did Roddy call the police before he got knocked out?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm sure we're just missing something. Anyway, then we get Stanley and Willem. Very quick scene, but it leads Willem to lose his shit and kick the stage scaffolding, which I forgot to mention that Jay has the tape from Trish and tries to drop it down to Bob, who has a VCR rigged up, and Bob misses it, but Willem's kick to the staging knocks the tape into Bob's hand and making him think he used the force to get it. Could have dropped this joke the whole time.
At least they didn't try to make it that he really did have the force.
Yeah. But I remember this being annoying when I first saw the movie, and it's still annoying this many years later.
Fair enough. But I mean, I believe in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, he actually does use the force, so...
Oh, probably. I forget everything about that movie.
Yeah, in the big battle scene when they're on the set, he pulls over the bong like lightsaber with the force.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm glad they didn't do it here.
They end up playing the tape, and we get to see Shannen and Trish. And as Brody and TS are being arrested, Brody points to the screen and says, "That girl's only 15." And Shannon's excuse is laughably ridiculous.
I thought she was 35.
Yeah, 15. I thought she was 36.
Oh, sorry, 36.
And just dragged
close.
Away.
Yeah.
No.
Brody just played child porn for an entire mall full of people. But
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. They should reward him with his own show.
You know what? That's too outlandish. It would never happen.
Poor Willem, man. Just in the background, sitting on the stage stairs, crying, mumbling, "What the hell is wrong with me?"
Just wanted to see the boat, man. Is that so much to ask?
We get to what turns out to be a regular trope in these movies, and Silent Bob finally speaks. Brody and Renee get back together after he asks her to meet his mother. It's blah, 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 garbage. TV exec says, "Have you ever thought about hosting your own talk show?" And Brody's reaction is, "Yeah."
Who hasn't?
And that's another thing from the extended cut is Brody actually has a desire to be on television. And
really?
That's why he has a weird reaction when everything goes live, when he's sitting on the stage and everyone starts applauding. He looks around kind of dazed.
Yeah,
because he's finally getting to... Yeah, but he's finally getting to be on TV. That's his thing. Like, there's a lot of weird little things that you kind of have to decide for yourself what's happening, like make up your own reasoning. But when you actually get context from what was cut out of the movie, it all makes perfect sense.
Huh.
And then we get to the what happened to them after segment of the movie. And I did type these out, and I'd like to hear your take on these. Brody took over hosting The Tonight Show, but still lives with his parents.
Okay. Plays up on the jokes that we saw. Sure.
Yeah. Renee became Brody's band leader and was well liked by his mom.
Okay. Didn't know she played the instrument, but fine.
Yep. Same. T.S. and Brandy tied the knot after graduation at Universal Studios, Florida.
Stupid.
Especially when Jaws drags across the screen. I hate it.
Oh, she agrees to it. I guess they belong together. I don't know.
Trish's book spent a record 72 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. The movie will be out this Christmas.
Well, that'll just be child pornography. Yeah. But, okay.
Do you see who her handler is?
LaForce.
Yeah. Extended part of the movie, she distracts LaForce by having sex with him.
Oh.
Yeah. Shannen made a lot of new friends in Rahway State Correction Facility. Don't need to say anything there.
Well, he got the back of the Volkswagen.
Yeah. Willem eventually saw the sailboat.
Oh, yeah? I love how they have him look at the text underneath, and then he gets excited. Oh, it's actually going to happen. I love that.
Suzanne, Jay, and Silent Bob. Well, that's a whole different story. So confusing, but I loved it. Just them walking down the highway holding hands with an orangutan.
Yeah, which obviously that plays into Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back later, but did I miss something in all of my viewings of the movie? When did Suzanne come in?
Suzanne didn't.
Okay. So I thought that was the case, but
yeah,
it's just so weird to, in that situation then, just have Jay and Silent Bob walking away with the orangutan and don't name it. But okay.
Exactly.
Whatever. Fine.
Do you want to go through the extended cut?
Yeah, go over a few of the details here that are, I guess, taking away very important context in some cases.
Yeah. Okay. An alternate opening scene. This is all from Wikipedia, by the way. An alternate opening scene in which Mr. Svenning hosts a ball for the governor of New Jersey. In this scene, T.S., dressed as a colonial musket man, accidentally gets his musket tangled up in Brandy's hair, then accidentally shoots at the governor on the roof of a school, which ends up costing Mr. Svenning his reputation as well as a big pay raise. This explains the reason why Svenning shows an intense dislike for T.S. and why Brandy is so intent on breaking up with him. The scene also makes no mention of Julie Dwyer's death, as the theatrical cut did. The cut subplot was referenced in the final cut of the movie, where the TV execs mentioned to Svenning that they do not want a repeat of the governor's ball, which I didn't know if you caught on to that or not.
I did. But why the colonial outfit?
I don't know.
Okay, then.
Multiple lines throughout the movie are restored related to T.S.'s attempted assassination of the governor. Many of these have wildly different reasons for having seen T.S. on the news, such as Shannon's claim that he had tried to kidnap the president's daughter. An extended sequence at Brody's house where T.S. is hounded by the media as a result of his actions at the governor's ball, including several TV movie offers. It included scenes where T.S. also makes it known to Brandy that he proposed to marry her. A scene in which Brody and T.S. arrive outside of Mr. Svenning's home so T.S. can try and reconcile, and during the confusion, thanks to a news crew chasing T.S., then interviewing Brody, who then implies that Mr. Svenning and Brandy take part in satanic rituals. The news crew records footage of Svenning doing martial arts in a bath towel. Some of the footage of Mr. Svenning was re-edited into theatrical release in the new intro. Because I always found that out of place, too, where we get a shot of Michael Rooker's ass when he does like a karate kick and his towel falls off.
Yeah, I thought it was just supposed to be a stupid, cheap sight gag, but...
No. A shot that shows the quick stop from Clerks. A new subplot of Brody showing intentions of wanting to be on television. The scene where Miss Ivana has several restored lines. Extended arrest scene where LaForest wants to put Brody and T.S. into jail for an extended period of time rather than overnight. I'm just going through now, scanning through, because there's a lot of just random stuff. Apparently in the Where Are They Now segment, there was Mr. Svenning shown at his job at the network as a janitor, along with his production assistant, Roddy, still wearing his headset.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and then the Trisha and LaForest thing. There's so much that was cut out of this movie that would make some parts make much more sense, but I don't think it's really necessary. The only real issue I have with that is if you're going to make a reference to a scene that doesn't exist in the movie anymore, just don't. Don't do it.
Yeah. I think the only stuff from the extended cut that's really missing is the stuff that gives us some reason as to why T.S. is so disliked by Svensson. That's it, right? Just give us something. And that didn't even need to be like 30 minutes of footage. Just have like a conversation or something. Throw in like some explanation as to why he doesn't like him. That's just exactly it, right?
Yeah.
Because not that he's very likable in this movie, but he's also not unlikable. Like there's no reason to think, oh, her dad should hate him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could add in 2 or 3 lines of dialogue and fix a lot of the problems with that.
Yeah.
So do you want to get into numbers here?
Let's do it.
All right. A lot of names in this movie.
Yes. But I don't think they were names at the time.
Some were, some weren't. So What do you think the budget was?
1995 money. Let's say $7 million.
Close, 6.1.
Okay.
Gross?
22.
2.1.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was a failure.
That's a shame.
But it's a cult classic now, right? I'm sure it's made up quite a bit of money on from like VHS, from DVD, from Blu-ray. It just recently got I say recently, like last year, got an amazing release from Arrow Video. Moving into ratings, IMDb, I think it's a safe guess that it did okay. But what do you think?
7.4.
7.
Okay.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter, what'd the critics give it?
I'm going to say 74.
58.
Oh, boo.
Popcorn meter?
83.
82.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's a decent rating for this movie.
Yeah.
Moving on to the awards, I guess.
Yes. So, who did you have for your least favorite character?
T.S. Quint, played by Jeremy London.
Okay, understandable pick. Why?
Just a weak character all around. I don't really like the character in the first place, but I felt the acting almost hollow. The thing is, I don't really know who else you could get to play the role and make him such I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Honestly, like T.S. Quint, the character, is just kind of a wiener.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's entirely the character. You could change the actor, and even if the performance was different, the outcome would be the same. It's because the character is just not.
Was he your least favorite character?
No, sir.
Who's your least favorite?
I actually went with Claire for Lonnie as Brandy, and that one is because of performance, not because of character. It's seldom that I pick this award based on performance versus character. A little bit more understandable now that I know that, she is, British, got an accent. But there are times where that jumps back and forth so much that it really takes away from the presence of the character. And especially in the theatrical cut, the first time we see her is that scene where she is explaining to TS what happened and why she's filling in. And it's
bad.
It's supposed to be a very emotional scene, but it's played so poorly that you're like, all right, I'm now like biased against this performance going into you're starting behind the eight ball. And that doesn't do it any favors.
Well, the character is so not fleshed out, very monotone that it's... Yeah, she didn't play the character well, but the character wasn't good in the first place.
Yeah, that wasn't going to help, so...
Yeah. I think we can agree on who our favorite character is.
Well, I go first, so let's see if we agree. I picked Jason Lee as Brody.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
Surprised we both picked the same one.
Oh, yeah, I'm shocked.
It would have been difficult to predict.
Everything about the Brody Bruce character here is great. Like, he's a detestable character, but Lee plays him so well.
So well.
So snide, but you can't help but love him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just a lovable asshole.
I don't know how somebody could watch this movie and not love Jason.
Yeah. So. Scientology aside.
Yeah. But.
Yeah.
All right. So you lead us off with your favorite line.
Oh, it's that kid is back on the escalator again.
See, is that fair?
It's the delivery.
I know. And obviously my favorite line is the kid is back on the escalator. Because, we talked about what movies for me to put in the intro, but I picked the lines. So obviously there's a reason I picked that line for the intro. It's because I always loved it. But I didn't know if it would be fair to pick it because of that.
Oh, it's fair. It's totally fair. It's the delivery, though, like the actions he's making while he's saying it, because he's putting emphasis on words by slapping the railing of the escalator. It's just, it's so good.
He also slaps the armrest of the bench when he does it later, too.
Yeah. It's great.
There's a consistency there, but I didn't write that down because I didn't think it would be fair.
Oh, okay. So what did you pick?
Well, I mean, that is my pick, but as silly as it sounds, and there's a backstory to it, I'm going to say, I'm up 12-2. This is Hartford, the Whale. Breakfast is come and go, but they only beat Vancouver twice in a lifetime.
Yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah. When he's playing the Sega Genesis game. It's
good. It's very good.
Yeah. All right. So for favorite scene, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's a tough one.
It is, but I know what I'm going to pick now.
Oh?
It's got to be Jay and Silent Bob beating up the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
I will say, full disclosure, even up until we started recording this episode, I didn't have one picked simply because there was so many, not because, there isn't anything good in it. But honestly, it just highlights how awesome that scene is. Just go back and listen to how much we laughed talking about it.
Yeah, it is the most memorable scene for sure. I mean, this movie is packed with a bunch of amazing scenes. That's why I found it really difficult to pick. But they got the biggest laugh out of me for sure. So yeah, Easter Bunny beatdown.
You're picking that one too?
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to final thoughts, which, I mean, should be pretty clear, but what do you want to say in closing about this movie?
I love this movie. Some of it doesn't play as well 30 years later, but it's still packed full of laughs. Some shitty writing, some amazing writing, poor performances and amazing performances. But as it all takes place in a day style film, it's quite good. I highly recommend it, if only for watching Jason Lee's performance. But you don't have to know Kevin Smith movies to appreciate Mallrats, where I find a lot of his other movies are just packed so full of references to previous work. Before this, he only has Clerks, and you don't need to see Clerks to get this movie. I mean, it adds to it for sure, and I highly recommend you check out Clerks. But as a standalone film, Mallrats works really well, and yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. What did you think?
I absolutely love it. I will say that my views on it are a little bit different from watching it 30 years ago. Back then, I was obviously into a lot more of like vulgar humor and things like that, which totally is fine. A good reason to like this movie. But rewatching it now, where that doesn't appeal to me as much, just highlights how there's still so much more beyond that to enjoy, that I can still love every minute of it. And yes, It is problematic. There are parts that are not great. I never really liked the dating game scene even back then, but I don't care, because those are just little blemishes on an otherwise fantastic movie. So I highly recommend, as long as you're not going to get too easily offended, because again, it was made in the mid-90s. All right. So that's our thoughts on Mallrats. If you'd like to share your thoughts with us, you can hit us up on social media. We are on Twitter at BS Bargain Bin, Facebook.com/BS Bargain Bin. We're on Instagram at, I think BS.bargain.bin, but I'm not 100%. I don't, whatever. Ben.
Yo.
You have requested that I make a pick this week.
Yes.
And I have some written down here.
Okay.
I will say, never seen these movies.
Oh, that's dangerous.
So I honestly have no idea what we're walking into, nor have I even looked up reviews to see how well received they are prior to putting them down on this list. But I'm going to let you pick between two genres.
Okay.
Do you want to watch an action movie or a comedy movie?
Action.
All right. So next week, we are going to watch the 2009 movie Gamer.
Cable? It's me. It's Simon. I'm playing you.
Turn me around.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
They call it a game.
Slayers gives the gamer full control of a human being in full-scale combat.
But the players are real.
Every one of our Slayers is a death row inmate. Stay alive for 30 sessions, you get set free. That's not a bad deal.
Some try to beat the system. But no one has ever survived.
Cable's a perfect soldier. He is what they want.
27 battles that was ever done. That man always ever come that close.
It ain't just a game. We're all slaves.
My husband, he's due to be released soon.
Your wife and your daughter need you. It's the only thing that keeps you alive.
We know where she is.
So I can beat them, not with you controlling me. You want to win? Turn me loose. You're pulling all the strings around here.
I think you do it. You're mine, boy.
You can hear me. I know you can.
not something you can control.
Until next time, have a good one.
All the best.